Welcome to This is Thailand. I'm your host, and today I want to tell you about Clyde, a 58-year-old baker from Portland, Oregon, who came to Chiang Mai with a nest egg and a hollow heart. He'd spent his entire adult life building something small but solid, a neighborhood bakery, a marriage, a routine. And then he watched it all disappear, bit by bit, until there was nothing left but silence and a one-way ticket to Thailand. What happened next changed everything. He met someone who made him feel needed again, who made him believe he could matter to another person. He had no idea what was coming. This one's going to stick with you. Here's his story. In his own words, "My name is Clyde, and I need to tell you how I ended up teaching English for $12 an hour in a concrete box in Chiang Mai, with no way home and no way forward. But to understand that, you need to understand who I was before Thailand, back when I still knew what my life meant. I ran a bakery in Portland for 30 years. Not some trendy artisan thing with a line out the door, just a neighborhood place where the same people came in every morning for their coffee and pastries. I knew their names. I knew their orders. I'd be up at 3 in the morning, hands in dough before the city woke up, pulling trays from the oven while it was still dark outside. There's something about that rhythm, that routine, that made sense to me. You measure the flour, you knead the dough, you wait for it to rise. You put in the work, and you get something good out the other end. That was my life, simple, top, predictable, mine. Linda was my wife for 28 years. We met when she came into the bakery in her early 20s, ordered a cinnamon roll, and made some joke about carbs that I can't remember now but made me laugh. We got married, bought a little craftsman house in southeast Portland, nothing fancy. We didn't have kids, she couldn't, and we made peace with that. It was just us, the bakery, the house, the quiet life we built together. When she was 52, she got diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. I remember the doctor's office, the way he said it, like he was commenting on the weather. "Your wife has Alzheimer's disease. We're looking at a timeline of maybe 8 to 10 years. I remember Linda's face going blank, then that little smile she did when she was trying not to cry in public. We drove home in silence. The decline took 6 years, and I watched every single day of it. At first, it was small things. She'd forget where she put her keys, forget what day it was, ask me the same question twice in an hour. Then it got worse. She'd forget our friends' names. She'd get lost driving to the grocery store she'd been going to for 20 years. She'd wake up in the middle of the night confused about where she was. I became two-people baker at dawn, caregiver by afternoon. I'd get home from the shop and find her standing in the kitchen, holding a pot, not knowing what she'd been trying to make. Year 3, I hired help, a nurse to come in during the day while I worked. Year 4, I sold the bakery because I couldn't do both anymore. Used that money to move her into a memory care facility because she needed round-the-clock supervision and I was drowning. Year 5, I sold our house to afford the care. Those places aren't cheap. $8,000 to $10,000 a month, every month, watching your savings evaporate while the person you love forgets your face. By year 6, she didn't know who I was. I'd visit every day and she'd look at me like I was a stranger. Sometimes she'd call me by her father's name. Sometimes she'd ask when her husband was coming to pick her up, and I'd have to explain, again, that I was her husband. She'd nod politely, the way you do with someone you don't know. When she finally died, I had $165,000 left. The bakery was gone. The house was gone. I moved into a cheap one-bedroom apartment in a part of Portland 1,500 never lived in, surrounded by people I didn't know. For 3 months, I didn't do much of anything. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning out of habit, but there was nowhere to go, nothing to make, no one to care for, just silence. I tried the grief support groups at the community center, sat in folding chairs in fluorescent-lit rooms listening to other people talk about their dead spouses, and I couldn't connect to any of it. They'd talk about memories, about celebrating the person's life, about healing. And all I could think about was how Linda forgot me before she died, how I lost her twice, once when the disease took her mind, and again when her body finally gave out. My sister Susan kept inviting me over for dinner, for holidays, trying to pull me back into the world. But I couldn't stand the pity in her eyes, the way she'd ask how I was doing in that careful voice people use around broken things. I appreciated it, I did, but it made everything worse. One afternoon I ran into Dennis, a regular from the old bakery days. We got to talking on the street corner, and he mentioned he'd just gotten back from Chiang Mai, said it was cheap, beautiful, peaceful, good weather, good food, good people. He wasn't trying to sell me on anything, just making conversation, but something about the way he described it stuck with me. A place where I could exist without every street corner reminding me of Linda, where I could afford to live on what I had left, where I could just breathe for a minute without the weight of everything I'd lost pressing down on me. I wasn't looking for adventure. I wasn't looking for romance. I definitely wasn't looking to start over. I just needed somewhere I could be alone without feeling like I was suffocating. I booked a one-way ticket to Chiang Mai on a tourist visa, told Susan I was taking a trip, maybe staying a few months just to clear my head. She was supportive, said it sounded like a good idea, that I needed a change of scenery. I packed light a couple suitcases with clothes, my laptop, my Kindle, left everything else behind. The night before I left, I sat in that empty apartment looking at the $165,000 in my bank account. Everything I had to show for 30 years of work, 28 years of marriage, 6 years of caregiving. It should have felt like security, like freedom. Instead, it just felt like evidence of loss, a number that represented everything I'd sold, everything I'd given up, everything I'd watched disappear. I thought about Linda in those last months, how she'd look at me with no recognition, how I became just another face in the rotation of nurses and aides, how she died surrounded by people who were paid to care for her because the person who actually loved her wasn't enough anymore. I got on that plane to Thailand with no plan except to not feel this empty anymore. I had no idea what I was walking into. No idea that 18 months later I'd have lost half that money, my dignity, and whatever fragile hope I'd managed to scrape together in the aftermath of Linda's death. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, I had to meet Nong. I landed at Chiang Mai International Airport on a November afternoon, and the heat hit me like opening an oven door. That thick, wet air that clings to your skin the second you step outside. Portland in November is rain and 50 degrees. This was something else entirely. I stood on the curb waiting for a taxi, sweat already soaking through my shirt, watching tuk-tuks and motorbikes weave through traffic, and thought, what the hell am I doing here? The taxi driver spoke maybe 5 words of English, but he got me to the address I'd found on Airbnb, a studio apartment near Neiman Hemen, which I learned later everyone just calls Neiman. 8,000 baht a month, about $240. The landlady was a Thai woman in her 60s who spoke better English than the taxi driver. She showed me the room small, clean, a bed, a table, a little kitchenette, air conditioning that rattled when it ran. I paid her 2 months up front in cash, and she gave me the key. That first week, I barely left the apartment except to buy food. I'd walk to 7-Eleven in the evening when it was cooler, buy instant noodles and bottled water, come back and sit in the air conditioning trying to figure out what I was supposed to do with myself. I brought books, but I couldn't focus. I'd scroll from my phone looking at nothing. The silence was different here than in Portland. Temple bells in the distance, motorbikes revving, street vendors calling out in Thai, construction noise from somewhere nearby. But inside the apartment, it was the same emptiness I'd been trying to escape. By week 2, I forced myself to explore. I'd take morning walks before the heat got unbearable, wandering through temple grounds where old Thai women would be sweeping or making merit, past the moat that circles the old city, through markets where I didn't recognize half the food being sold. Everything smelled like fish sauce and incense and exhaust fumes. I'd eat at street food stalls, pointing at things other people were eating since I couldn't read the menus. Pad Thai Khao Pad, some tan that was so spicy it made my eyes water. I went to a couple expat meetups I found online, thinking maybe I should try to meet people, but the conversations made me uncomfortable. Guys talking about bar girls in Pattaya, comparing prices for short time and long time, laughing about their Thai girlfriends' families asking for money. One guy, Australian, late 60s, told me I should head down to Walking Street if I wanted to have a good time. Said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. I left early. That wasn't who I was. That wasn't why I came here. 3 weeks in, I found Smile Coffee. It was 2 blocks from my apartment, small place with maybe 6 tables, run by a Thai family. I went in one morning around 7:30, ordered an Americano, and sat by the window with my Kindle. The coffee was decent, strong enough. I came back the next morning, and the next. That's when I noticed her. Nong. She was one of 3 people working there, young, maybe late 20s, with this natural prettiness that wasn't trying too hard. She wore jeans and a simple t-shirt, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, not like the heavily made-up women I'd seen working in bars or tourist areas. When she took my order the first time, she smiled and said, "Good morning" in English that was clear and friendly. The second week I came in, she remembered my order. Americano, extra strong, yes? I was surprised. It's a small thing, but when you're lonely in a foreign country, someone remembering your coffee order feels like something. We started making small talk. Where was I from? America, Portland. How long was I staying? I didn't know yet. Was I on holiday? Sort of. Her English was good enough for basic conversation, better than my Thai, which was non-existent except for sawadi crap and kokung crap. She told me her name was Nong, which I later learned is actually just a nickname that means younger sibling, but everyone called her that. She was from Chiang Mai, up north, came to the city for work and to study business management at night school. Her family had a rice farm. She was trying to build something better for herself. I respected that. That's what I'd done with the bakery, built something from nothing. Over the next month, those morning coffee stops became the best part of my day. Nong would ask what I was reading, laugh when I tried to pronounce Thai words from a language app I'd downloaded. I told her about the bakery, about spending 30 years making bread. She thought that was interesting, asked questions about what kinds of things I made, whether Thai people would like American pastries. I kept the conversation light, Didn't mention Linda's death, just said I'd lost my wife and needed a change. She told me about wanting to open her own coffee shop someday, how she was saving money, learning the business. She was ambitious, but not in a pushy way. She had this gentle, almost shy energy that felt real. And here's what struck me. She never asked for anything. Never mentioned money, never suggested I buy her things, never hinted at anything beyond these morning conversations. After hearing those expat guys talk about Thai women always angling for something, Nong felt like proof that wasn't the whole story. By the 2-month mark, I was going to Smile Coffee every single morning. If Nong wasn't working, I'd feel disappointed. When she was there, we'd talk for a few minutes between her serving other customers. She'd tease me about being irregular, about my terrible Thai pronunciation. I'd joke that her English was showing me up. It was easy, comfortable. For the first time since Linda got sick, I felt like I was having normal human interaction that wasn't about grief or loss or pity. One morning, I was sitting there with my coffee and my book, and one realized one was actually happy. Not the big, overwhelming happiness of major life events. Just this quiet contentment of having a routine again, a place to be, someone who smiled when they saw me walk through the door. It was a feeling I thought I'd lost forever. That's when I decided to take the risk. Nong was wiping down the table next to mine, and I just asked her, straight out, if she'd like to have dinner with me sometime. My heart was hammering. I felt like an idiot. I was nearly 60, she was 27, what was I thinking? She could easily say no, laugh it off, make things awkward. But she didn't. She looked surprised, then smiled, then nodded. Yes, okay, that would be nice. There was something shy about the way she said it, like she was genuinely pleased, but also a little nervous. Not the calculated response I might have expected if this was some kind of transaction, just a young woman saying yes to dinner. We went to a small Thai restaurant near the night bazaar a few nights later. Nothing fancy, just a local place with plastic chairs and fluorescent lights. Nong ordered for us lob, green curry, sticky rice, dishes I'd never tried before. She taught me how to eat with my hands, how to roll the sticky rice into little balls. She talked about growing up in the village, helping her parents with the farm, how different Chiang Mai felt when she first moved here. I told her more about Portland, about the bakery, about the rhythm of that life. At some point during the meal, she asked about my wife, not prying, just gentle curiosity. I told her the truth that Linda had Alzheimer's, that I'd watched her disappear over 6 years, that she died about 4 months before I came to Thailand. Nong's face went soft with sympathy. She reached across the table and touched my hand, just briefly, and said, "I am sorry. That is very sad." There was no pity in it. No over-the-top emotional reaction, just simple human kindness. And something in me cracked open a little bit. We walked back through the night market after dinner, past vendors selling everything from fried insects to knockoff designer bags. The air smelled like grilled meat and jasmine and humidity. Nong pointed things out, told me what different foods were, laughed when I tried to haggle with a vendor in broken Thai. At the end of the night, when I walked her to where she'd parked her motorbike, she thanked me for dinner and said she'd had a good time. Then she drove off into the chaos of Chiang Mai traffic, and I stood there thinking this was the first time in years I'd felt like I mattered to someone. Looking back now, I can see that was the hook. Not the dinner itself, not anything she said or did specifically. Just the feeling of being needed again, of being seen, of having someone smile when you walked into a room. After 6 years of watching Linda forget my face, after months of isolation and grief, Nong made me feel human again. And I was so desperate for that feeling that I didn't stop to ask myself any hard questions. I just held on to it with both hands and told myself this time was different. After that first dinner, Nong and I started seeing each other regularly, not every day, but a few times a week. She'd finish her shift at the coffee shop and we'd meet up, explore different parts of Chiang Mai together. We went to the night markets, wandered through the Saturday walking street where vendors sold handmade crafts and street food, took a Somdayu up to Doi Suthep Temple to watch the sunset over the city. She introduced me to her friends, other young Thai women working service jobs, studying, trying to build better lives. A girl named Ploy, who worked at a hotel reception desk. Another named Mai, who was studying to be a nurse. They'd all meet up at cheap Thai restaurants, laughing and chatting in Thai while I sat there understanding maybe 1 word in 10. But Nong would translate the important parts, loop me into the conversation. These weren't bar girls, they weren't working angles. They were just regular people trying to get ahead, and that reinforced what I wanted to believe, that my situation was different from those cautionary tales I'd heard at the expat meetups. Around month 4, things shifted. Nong started staying over at my apartment a few nights a week. She'd bring fresh vegetables from the market, cook dinner for us in my tiny kitchen. She taught me how to make pad krap al holy basil with chicken, fried egg on top, how to pound green papaya for some tam in a mortar and pestle, even though the first time I tried I couldn't handle the chili peppers and had to run cold water over my hands for 10 minutes. I showed her how to make sourdough bread, started a starter from scratch, taught her about hydration ratios and fermentation times, all the little details I'd spent 30 years perfecting. She was fascinated, asked questions, took notes on her phone. We'd wake up early together and I'd shape the dough while she made coffee, and for those moments it felt domestic and real, like we were building something together. One night, lying in bed after, she started talking about her family. Her parents were getting older, she said. The rice farm wasn't doing well. They'd had a bad harvest the year before, and now the irrigation pump had broken. They needed 90,000 baht to replace it, about $3,000, but they didn't have it. She wasn't asking for anything. She framed it as worry, as stress she was carrying, but I could see it weighing on her. I told her I could help, just like that. No hesitation. She looked at me surprised, said no, it was too much. She couldn't accept that. But I insisted. Family helps family, I said, even though we weren't family yet. Even though we'd only been seeing each other for 4 months. She started crying, said I was the kindest man she'd ever met, that her parents would be so grateful. The transfer happened through Bangkok Bank. I went to the branch on Hue Ku Road, filled out the forms, watched 90,000 baht disappear from my account, $3,000. It felt good, honestly. I was solving a real problem, helping people who needed help. This wasn't throwing money at bar girls or paying for entertainment. This was fixing an irrigation system so a family could grow rice. A few days later, Nong showed me photos on her phone. The new pump installed, water flowing through the channels, her parents standing next to it smiling. Her father in a faded work shirt, her mother in traditional Thai farmer's clothes, both of them giving the camera a thumbs up. Another photo of the family together, Nong, her parents, her younger brother Somchai, who was maybe 19 or 20. They looked happy, genuine. After that, things got better between us. Nong started staying over more often, 4 or 5 nights a week. She'd do my laundry without me asking, fold it neatly, and put it away. She'd bring ingredients from the market and cook elaborate Thai meals, massaman curry, tom yum soup, larb moo. Little domestic gestures that reminded me of Linda before she got sick, how she'd take care of things quietly, how our life together had a rhythm to it. I wasn't trying to replace Linda. I need you to understand that. You don't replace 28 years of marriage with a few months of dating someone new. But I was learning to feel again, learning that maybe there was life after the kind of loss I'd been through. By month 6, we'd settled into something that felt like a relationship. Nong still worked at Smile Coffee during the day, still went to her business management classes at night a couple times a week, but most of her free time was spent with me. We'd talk about the future in vague terms. She'd mention wanting to open her own cafe someday, maybe something small in the old city. I'd talk about maybe staying in Thailand longer than I'd originally planned, how the visa situation worked for people my age. She'd listen when I talked about Linda, not with the awkward discomfort that people back home had, like they didn't know what to do with my grief. Just patient, present, asking gentle questions. What was she like? What did you love most about her? Do you think she'd want you to be happy again? That last question hit me hard. I'd never thought about it that way. One night, lying in bed in the dark with the air conditioning rattling, Nong asked me what I saw for our future. The directness of it surprised me. I admitted I didn't know. I was taking things day by day, trying to figure out what my life looked like now. She went quiet, pulled away slightly, turned onto her side, facing away from me. That planted a seed I couldn't ignore. If I wanted this to continue, this feeling of mattering to someone, of having purpose again, I needed to commit to something more than just drifting. The thought terrified me, but it also excited me in a way I hadn't felt since before Linda got sick. I started thinking about what it would mean to actually build a life here, to get a retirement visa, to make Chiang Mai permanent, to maybe, eventually, ask Nong to marry me. The age difference bothered me. Sometimes 31 years is significant, but she never seemed to care. She'd joke about me being an old man when I complained about my back hurting, but it was affectionate, not cruel. I told myself this was real, that what we had was different from those stories about naive Farang men getting scammed by Thai women. Nong had never asked me for money before the irrigation pump, and even then she'd tried to refuse. She had her own life, her own ambitions, her own friends. She wasn't some desperate village girl looking for a meal ticket. She was building something for herself, and I was just lucky enough to be part of it. Looking back, I can see how I was already rationalizing things, already bending reality to fit what I needed to believe. Because the alternative, accepting that I might be alone forever, that no one would ever need me again, was too unbearable to consider. But I didn't see it then. I just saw Nong cooking in my kitchen, laughing at my jokes, making me feel like a person again instead of a ghost haunting his own life. And I held on to that feeling like it was the only thing keeping me above water. Month 7, Nong mentioned her younger brother Somchai during dinner. We were at my place, she was making khao swa, and she got this worried look on her face. Said Somchai's university semester was starting, 75,000 baht for tuition, about $2,500. The family didn't have it. They might have to pull him out of school. I couldn't stand that idea. A kid losing his education over money I had sitting in a bank account doing nothing. I told Nong I'd pay for it. She tried to say no, said it was too much, that I'd already done so much for her family. But I pushed. Education is an investment, I said, meaning it. That's what I believed my whole life. You invest in people, in skills, in building something. Somchai getting a degree was worth more than me letting money sit there collecting dust. She cried again. Promised her family would pay me back someday, but I waved that off. I wasn't keeping score. This was what you did for family, right? And if Nong and I were building toward a future together, her family was going to be my family. The transfer went through Bangkok Bank again. 75,000 baht. Gone. But Nong showed me a photo of Somchai's acceptance letter, his class schedule. He was studying engineering at Chiang Mai University. Smart kid. I felt good about it. Then, about a month later, Nong came to my apartment in tears. Real tears, not the kind you can fake. Her father had been hospitalized with complications from diabetes. They'd taken him to the government hospital in Chiang Mai, but the care there was basic, and he needed better treatment. The private hospital could help, but it would cost 120,000 baht, $4,000. Insurance wouldn't cover it all. The family was panicking. She showed me the medical paperwork, photos of her father in a hospital bed, hooked up to IVs, looking frail. I didn't hesitate. Medical emergencies aren't negotiable. You don't let someone's father die over money. I went to the bank the next day, made the transfer. Her father recovered. A week later, Nong showed me a video message from the whole family. Her parents, Somchai, even some aunts and uncles I'd never heard of, all crowded into frame, weighing at the camera, saying "Kap Kun Krap," thanking the generous American uncle. Her father looked weak but alive, tearful with gratitude. Her mother was crying. It hit me hard. I'd helped save this man's life. I was part of something that mattered. That's when I decided to propose, not because of the money or the gratitude, but because I realized I didn't want to live without Nong. She'd become the center of my life in Chiang Mai, the person who made me want to get up in the morning, who made me feel like I still had value as a human being. I bought a modest gold ring from a shop in the old city, nothing flashy, just simple yellow gold. One evening at my apartment, after dinner, I just asked her, "Nong, will you marry me?" I didn't get down on one knee or make a big production of it. "That's not who I am," she cried. Said yes. Called her mother immediately, talking rapid-fire Thai, laughing and crying at the same time. When she hung up, she kissed me and said I'd made her the happiest woman in Thailand. The wedding planning started right away. Nong explained the Sin Sa tradition, the bride price. "It's not about buying a wife," she explained. "It's about showing respect to the bride's family, demonstrating financial stability and commitment." Her family, being traditional, would expect 240,000 baht, $8,000. I researched it online, read forums about Farang men marrying Thai women. The amounts varied wildly depending on the woman's education, family status, whether she'd been married before. For an educated woman from a good family who'd never been married, 8,000 was within the normal range. Some guys paid way more. Some paid less, and regretted it because it embarrassed the bride's family. I agreed. It strained my budget more than the previous payments. I was down to maybe $145,000 at this point. But this was our wedding. You don't cheap out on that. We got married at the Emperor office first, the legal part. Just paperwork, signatures, bureaucratic, and kind of anticlimactic. But it made it official. Nong became my wife under Thai law. Then came the village ceremony in Chiang Mai. We drove up there in a rented car, me nervous as hell because I had no idea what to expect. The sinsad was presented in cash, stacks of bills arranged on a tray with flowers and decorations. The ceremony itself cost another 180,000 baht, $6,000. Food for the whole village, decorations, monks to bless the marriage, traditional dancers, the whole production. It was beautiful, overwhelming. I didn't understand most of what was happening. Everything was in Thai, rituals I'd never seen before. But Nong's family treated me like royalty. Her father, recovered from his hospital stay, made a speech that Nong translated for me. He called me a blessing to their family, said he never expected his daughter to find such a kind and generous husband. I believed him. I believed all of it. After the ceremony, I emailed photos to Susan. She called me 2 days later, concerned. "Clyde, are you sure about this? You barely know her. The age difference. How much have you spent already?" Her tone had that careful worry in it, like she was trying not to sound judgmental but couldn't help herself. I got defensive. Told her she didn't understand loneliness, didn't understand Thai culture, didn't understand what it meant to find someone who actually wanted to be with you after everything I'd been through. "You want me to be miserable forever?" I asked. "Just alone in that apartment in Portland waiting to die?" She backed off, said she was there if I needed her. But I hung up feeling vindicated and also uneasy. The uneasiness stuck with me, a low-level anxiety I couldn't quite shake, because even then little things were off. Nong was on her phone constantly, always messaging in Thai. When I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd say her family or friends, but she'd get irritated if I pressed. Not angry, just mildly annoyed, like I was being nosy. She became less available for day trips. Always had to work extra shifts at the coffee shop, or had study group for her classes, or needed to visit family. When I'd suggest we go somewhere together on the weekend, there was usually a reason she couldn't, but I rationalized it all. She had a life, she had responsibilities. I couldn't expect her to revolve her entire existence around me. That would be possessive, controlling, and I wasn't that kind of person. Linda had her own friends, her own activities before she got sick. Healthy relationships had space in them, so I pushed the uneasiness down. Told myself I was being paranoid, that I'd watched too many cautionary tale videos online about foreign men getting scammed. My situation was different. We were married now, legally bound, partners. I was so focused on believing in what we had that I couldn't see what was already unraveling right in front of me. Married life wasn't what I'd imagined. I thought once we made it official, things would settle into something comfortable, like what Linda and I had built over the years. But Nong was still working at Smile Coffee most days, still going to her night classes, and when she was home, she seemed distracted, less affectionate. Sex became less frequent once a week, then every 2 weeks. She was tired, she said, stressed about her final exams. I tried to be understanding. I remembered the exhaustion of running the bakery, how some nights I'd just collapse into bed without energy for anything else. 3 months after the wedding, Nong came home crying. Her cousin needed emergency surgery. Appendicitis that had developed complications. The family was in a panic because they needed 165,000 baht, immediately $5,500. The government hospital had a waiting list, but the private hospital could do it right away. She showed me photos of her cousin, a young woman maybe 25 years old, lying in a hospital bed looking pale and scared. Medical paperwork with numbers I couldn't read but could see were large. Nong was genuinely distraught, shaking as she showed me her phone, tears streaming down her face. I was starting to feel the financial pressure by this point. I'd burned through about $30,000 since arriving in Thailand. I was down to maybe $135,000. But this was a medical emergency. You don't let someone die over money, especially family. I went to Bangkok Bank the next day and made the transfer. The cousin recovered. More tearful gratitude, more video messages from the extended family. But this time, something felt different. The gratitude felt more performative, less genuine. Or maybe I was just getting cynical. I told myself I was being unfair, that I was letting Susan's worries get into my head. About a month later, Nong brought up the land. Her family wanted to buy the adjacent plot to expand their farm. The neighbor was selling 360,000 baht, $12,000. It was a good investment, Nong explained. Her parents were getting older. The farm was their retirement. When they passed, the land would go to her, which meant it would be ours. Our future security. This time I hesitated. $12,000 was serious money. That was nearly 10% of everything I had left. I sat at my little kitchen table doing math on my phone, looking at my bank balance, trying to figure out sustainability. At this rate of spending, my money would be gone in 2 or 3 years. But Nong framed it differently. This wasn't spending, she said. This was investing in our future. In the family that would support us as we got older. Thai people take care of their parents, and parents take care of their children. We were building something together. I told myself it was like buying into a pension plan. Like the investments I'd made in the bakery over the years, new ovens, better equipment, things that would pay off long term. I agreed. We'd buy the land. The purchase happened quickly, too quickly, looking back. Nong said her father was handling the paperwork, that it was all in Thai and complicated legal language, but his name would be on the deed because foreigners can't own land in Thailand. I knew this was true. I'd researched it before coming here. The law was clear. But we were married. What was hers was mine. What was mine was hers. Right? I never saw any paperwork. When I asked, Nong got defensive, said I didn't trust her family. I backed off. I didn't want to be that guy, the suspicious Farang who treated his Thai wife like a criminal. Then came the truck. Nong's father needed reliable transportation to get rice to market. The old motorcycle wasn't cutting it anymore, especially with the expanded farm. They needed a pickup truck. A used Toyota Hilux, the kind you see everywhere in rural Thailand, would cost 450,000 baht, $15,000. I said no. For the first time, I actually said no. It was too much. We'd already spent so much. I needed to think about our long-term sustainability. Nong went quiet. Not angry, just quiet, withdrawn. For 3 days, she barely spoke to me. She'd come home from work, eat dinner in silence, go to bed early. When I tried to talk to her, she'd say she was fine, just tired. But the cold shoulder was unmistakable. It reminded me of Linda. How she'd go silent when she was upset about something. How the silence would stretch until I couldn't take it anymore and I'd cave to whatever she wanted just to restore peace. That's what marriage was sometimes, I told myself. Compromise. Knowing when to push and when to let go. On day 4, I told Nong we'd buy the truck. Her mood transformed instantly. She smiled, hugged me, said I was so good to her family, that her father would be so grateful. That night we had sex for the first time in weeks. I tried not to think about the connection between the two things. The truck purchase went through. Again, everything in her father's name because I legally couldn't own vehicles in Thailand. I watched another $15,000 disappear from my account. $73,000 total in 14 months. I now had $92,000 left. I did the math properly this time, really looked at it. If I kept spending at this rate, I'd be broke in less than 2 years. And then what? I was 59 years old, too young for Social Security, no pension. I'd sold my business. What would I do when the money ran out? The panic started creeping in, that cold feeling in your chest when you realize you've made a terrible mistake, but you're in too deep to back out easily. But I pushed it down, told myself the request would stop now. We'd help the family establish stability, irrigation, education, medical care, land, transportation. They were set. Now Nong and I could focus on our own life together. Except Nong was increasingly absent. She started staying late at the coffee shop more often. Her boss needed extra help, she said. Inventory, cleaning, training new staff. She'd come home at 10, 11 at night, exhausted, barely able to talk. She'd spend whole weekends visiting family. The trip to Chiang Mai was long, she said, boring. I wouldn't enjoy it. Just her and her mother talking about family stuff, women's stuff. She'd leave Friday evening and come back Sunday night. And her phone. The phone was always there, always buzzing, always demanding her attention. She'd take calls in the bathroom with the door closed. She'd switch her screen off the instant I walked into the room. If I asked who she was talking to, she'd say friends, family, school group chat. But then she'd turn it around on me. Why was I asking? Didn't I trust her? Was I trying to control her? I'd apologize. Say I wasn't trying to control anything, I was just curious, just trying to stay connected to her life. She'd accept the apology, but the pattern would repeat days later. The secrecy, the defensiveness, the turning it back on me. I told myself I was being paranoid. She had her own life, her own privacy. I'd spent 6 years as a caregiver, watching Linda's every move, and maybe that had warped my sense of what normal independence looked like in a relationship. Healthy couples gave each other space. They didn't monitor each other's phones. They trusted. But late at night, lying in bed while Nong slept beside me, I'd stare at the ceiling fan turning in the dark and feel the unease growing. Something was wrong. I couldn't name it, couldn't point to any one thing that was definitive proof, just a collection of small things that didn't quite add up. The affection that only appeared after I gave money. The way she was never available anymore for the things we used to do together. The phone calls in Thai that stopped the second I entered the room. The weekends away that she never invited me to. The way she'd react with anger instead of reassurance when I expressed any doubt. I wanted to talk to someone about it. But who? Susan would say, "I told you so." The expat guys at the meetups would laugh and tell me I was getting played, that this was exactly what they'd warned about. Nong's friends were her friends. I couldn't exactly ask Ploy or Mai if they thought Nong was being honest with me, so I kept it to myself. Kept trying to be the good husband, the understanding partner, the man who didn't let his insecurities poison a good thing. Kept telling myself that marriage required faith, that you couldn't build a life with someone if you didn't trust them. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to examine too closely, I knew. I knew something was very, very wrong. I just didn't want to look at it directly because once I did, once I confirmed what I suspected, I'd have to face the reality that I'd thrown away $73,000 and 18 months of my life on something that was never real, and I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. The distance between us became impossible to ignore. By month 15, Nong was rarely home. When she was glued to her phone, irritable, treating me like I was in the way. Sex had stopped completely. When I tried to talk about our relationship, she'd deflect, say I was being needy, that she needed space. I felt the creeping terror of loneliness returning, the same void that had brought me to Thailand in the first place. I'd come here to escape emptiness, and somehow I created more of it. One afternoon in late April, Nong was in the shower. Her phone was on the nightstand, buzzing repeatedly. I sat on the edge of the bed listening to it buzz, buzz, buzz. I'd never snooped in my life. I trusted Linda completely, even when the Alzheimer's made her a stranger. I trusted Nong the same way. But something broke in me. I picked up the phone. It wasn't locked. It had never been locked, which had always made me believe she had nothing to hide. The messages were in Thai, from someone named Bank. I opened Google Translate on my own phone, started copying and pasting. The first message said something about the old Farang paying for another thing. Nong's response made a joke about how much longer she had to take care of him. Bank asked when they could go to Koh Samui together. Nong said soon, once she got more money from me. My hand started shaking. I scrolled back through the conversation, months of messages. Bank was her boyfriend. Had been for 3 years since before I'd even arrived in Thailand. Photos of them together at beaches, at restaurants, in bed. Discussions about what to ask the Farang for next. Bank telling her she was smart, that she was securing their future. Plans to split the money, buy a condo in Bangkok together, leave Chiang Mai. I kept scrolling. Found group chats with her friends from the coffee shop, Ploy and Mai and the others, laughing about Farang men who think they're special. Sharing strategies for maximizing financial support, comparing notes on what works, what doesn't. Nong wasn't unique in this. Her coworkers all had similar arrangements with different foreign men. It was transactional, casual, completely devoid of genuine affection. I heard the shower turn off. I sat there on the bed with her phone in my hand, the bathroom door about to open, and I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to put the phone back, pretend I'd never seen it, go back to the comfortable lie. But I couldn't. The truth was, sitting in my lap in Thai characters I'd translated word by word, Nong came out wrapped in a towel, saw me sitting there with her phone. Her face went through shock, then anger. She didn't even try to deny it. She snatched the phone from my hand, started yelling at me in Thai and English mixed together. How dare I violate her privacy? How dare I go through her phone? I was a jealous old man, controlling, exactly like she told Bank I was. I asked her quietly who Bank was. She didn't answer. I asked about the money, the farm, the truck, the land. Were any of the emergencies real? Her silence told me everything. Then she said things designed to hurt. That I was always just a retirement plan. That she could never love someone so old, so boring. That Thai women her age need Thai men, not broken foreign men looking for purpose. That the truck was hers, the land was hers, everything was hers legally, and there was nothing I could do about it. She was right. Under Thai law, everything was in her family's name. Foreigners can't own land, can't own vehicles. I had no claim to anything I'd paid for, no receipts, no contracts. Just bank transfers that proved I'd given her family money, which legally counted as gifts. Nong packed a bag. Called her father while standing in my apartment speaking Thai. I couldn't understand but knew it was about me. She left that night. An hour later, her father called. His English was broken, mixed with Thai, but the message was clear. Stay away from his daughter. The Farang had gone crazy, was being abusive. If I came near her or the family, there would be problems. I tried to explain what I'd found, but he hung up. I realized then that the family had been in on it from the beginning. The tearful gratitude, the video messages, her father's speech at the wedding about me being a blessing, all performance. The next morning, I found a lawyer. A British guy named Trevor who'd been in Thailand 20 years and specialized in cases like mine. His office was in a converted shophouse near the old city. He listened to my story with the weary expression of someone who'd heard it hundreds of times before. You have no legal recourse, he said flatly. The marriage was legal but meaningless in terms of asset protection. The gifts were gifts. No contracts, no receipts proving they were loans. The land, the truck, the money for surgeries and tuition, all legally gone. Everything's in their names. He'd seen this scenario so many times he could predict how it would unfold. Farang men funding Thai families, discovering too late they were never loved, just harvested. Some tried to fight it. None won. Thai law protects Thai nationals. Foreigners have almost no rights when it comes to property and assets. I filed for divorce at the Amphor office. Nong didn't contest it. She'd already moved on. Within 2 weeks, I saw photos on Facebook, she hadn't even blocked me yet, of her and Bank together publicly. Couple photos, restaurant check-ins, relationship status changed. Within a month, she posted pictures from Koh Samui, the trip she'd been planning all along. I blocked her on everything, deleted my Facebook account. But the damage was done. I sat in my apartment doing the math. $73,000 in 14 months. Irrigation pump, tuition, hospital bills, sin sod, wedding, cousin's surgery, land, truck. I had roughly $90,000 left. Everything I'd built over 30 years. The bakery, the house, the life with Linda reduced to a number that was bleeding away. The worst part wasn't the money. It was the betrayal of hope. After Linda died, I thought I'd never feel needed again, never mattered to anyone. Nong made me feel necessary, important, like I still had something to offer the world. Discovering it was all transactional, that every smile and home-cooked meal had a price tag, shattered something fundamental. I'd been so desperate to matter again that I'd ignored every warning sign, the pattern of requests, the phone secrecy. Nong's emotional distance after getting money. The way her family never actually integrated me into their lives beyond taking my cash. It was all there, clear as day. and I'd refused to see it because the alternative, accepting permanent loneliness, was unbearable. I'd come to Thailand to escape the emptiness of Linda's death, and I'd created an even deeper emptiness through my own desperate need to be needed. I moved to a cheaper apartment 3 weeks after the divorce finalized. Couldn't afford the 8,000 baht anymore. Found a place for 4,500, about $135, in a part of Chiang Mai I'd never been to before. No tourists, no expats, just Thai families and me. The apartment was a concrete box, no air conditioning, just a fan that pushed hot air around, squat toilet, tile floor, a mattress on a metal frame, one window that looked out at another concrete building 3 feet away. But it was what I could afford now. I had roughly $90,000 left. I did the math obsessively, running the numbers over and over like it would change the outcome. If I lived frugally, street food, no luxuries, minimal rent, that was maybe 8 years of survival in Thailand. Less if I had any medical emergencies. And I was 60 years old now, too young for Social Security, no pension. I'd sold my business years ago to pay for Linda's care. Going back to Portland wasn't an option either. Rent there would burn through my savings in 3 years, and I had no job prospects. Who's hiring a 60-year-old former baker with a 6-year gap in his resume? I needed income. Teaching English was the obvious choice for native speakers in Thailand. I had no teaching certificate, no education degree, but I learned that plenty of schools don't care. They just want a white face and an American accent. I got hired at a language center in the strip mall near the old city. $12 an hour, no benefits, paid in cash at the end of each week. The work was exhausting in a way baking never was. Teenagers who mocked my accent. Adults who canceled constantly or showed up late. School administration that was chaotic and exploitative, changing my schedule without notice, expecting me to cover classes for no extra pay. But it was money, and I couldn't afford pride. My routine became grim. Teach 4 to 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, eat 40 baht pad Thai from street carts, 30 baht cow pad when I needed to save even more. I stopped going to coffee shops entirely. Started avoiding other expats because their stories were either depressingly similar to mine or insufferably smug about how they'd avoided my mistakes. I watched my former life on social media before I deleted it all. Susan's family gatherings in Portland, her kids growing up, celebrating birthdays, holidays, old bakery customers tagging the location where my shop used to be, now a trendy ramen restaurant with exposed brick and Edison bulbs. The life I'd built, erased, replaced, like I'd never existed at all. Susan eventually reached out via email after not hearing from me for months. I'd been ignoring her messages, couldn't face the conversation I knew was coming. But she persisted, said she was worried, needed to know I was okay. I confessed everything. The marriage, the money, the discovery of bank, the divorce. $73,000 gone. Wrote it all out in a long, rambling email at 3 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. Her response came the next day. She was furious that I hadn't listened to her warnings, that I'd shut her out when she'd tried to help. But she was also heartbroken. Said she wished I'd trusted her enough to talk before it got this bad. She offered to help financially. Said she and her husband could send money if I needed it. I refused. I couldn't bear the thought of being her charity case, of taking money from my little sister because I'd been stupid enough to throw mine away on a woman who never loved me. The shame was too much. Our communication became strained after that. Periodic check-ins on birthdays and holidays. Brief, polite exchanges that felt hollow. We both knew our relationship had changed. I'd made my choices, and now I was living with them alone. I joined an online support group for foreign men who'd been scammed in Thailand. Found it on Reddit one night when I couldn't sleep, just searching for answers, for someone who understood. The stories were identical to mine. Older Western men, recent divorces or widowhood, younger Thai women, escalating financial requests, family emergencies that may or may not have been real, eventual discovery of Thai boyfriends, complete legal helplessness. Reading them provided no comfort. Just confirmed I was a cliché, a mark. Another stupid Farang who thought he was different, thought his love story was special, thought his situation wouldn't end the way all the others did. The hardest part isn't the money. I need you to understand that. $73,000 is a lot, and losing it hurts. But that's not what keeps me up at night. It's the betrayal of hope. After Linda died, I thought I'd never feel needed again. Never mattered to anyone. Nong made me feel necessary, important, like I still had something to offer the world. Discovering it was all transactional, that every smile and home-cooked meal and intimate conversation had a price tag, shattered something fundamental in me. I'm more alone now than I was before I came to Thailand, because now I know. I know that my loneliness is permanent, that no one will ever genuinely want me again. That at 60 years old, teaching English for survival money in a country where I have no legal protections and no real future, this is it. This is what the rest of my life looks like. Looking back, I can see everything I should have noticed. The pattern of requests that escalated over time. The phone secrecy. Nong's emotional distance that grew after each payment. The way her family never actually integrated me into their lives beyond the video messages thanking me for money. It was all there. Every red flag visible if I'd been willing to look. But grief makes you blind, desperate. I wanted so badly to matter again that I ignored every warning sign, rationalized every inconsistency, convinced myself my situation was different because the alternative, accepting that I might be alone forever, was unbearable. I came to Thailand to escape the emptiness of Linda's death, to find somewhere I could breathe without drowning in loss. And instead I created an even deeper emptiness through my own desperate need to be needed. I'll probably die here, in this concrete box in Chiang Mai, teaching English to teenagers who don't want to learn, watching my savings slowly dwindle until there's nothing left. No family nearby, no real friends, just me and the ceiling fan and the knowledge that I spent everything I'd built over 30 years. The bakery, the house, the life with Linda on a woman who saw me as nothing more than a retirement plan. The irony isn't lost on me. I thought coming here would help me feel again, and it did. I felt hope, joy, connection, love. And then I felt betrayal deeper than anything I'd experienced before. Sometimes I wonder if it would have been better to stay in Portland, stay numb, never risk hoping again, but I can't change it now. This is my life, and I have to live with what I've done. That's the story of how I lost everything in Thailand. My name is Clyde, and I'm telling you this so maybe, just maybe, you won't make the same mistakes I did. The host's voice returns, measured and direct, speaking to viewers of This is Thailand. Clyde's story is tragically common in Thailand's expat community. Widowers, divorcees, lonely men arriving emotionally vulnerable, encountering women who expertly exploit that vulnerability. Not all Thai women are scammers, and not all foreign men are victims, but the pattern exists. And it's facilitated by Thailand's legal system, which offers foreigners almost no protection in disputes over property and assets. The core lesson here is simple but critical. Grief, loneliness, and the desperate need to be needed make you vulnerable to exploitation. Real love doesn't come with an escalating price tag. Real family doesn't require constant financial proof of your commitment. And in Thailand, where foreigners legally cannot own land or most assets, putting everything in a Thai partner's name without ironclad legal protections is financial suicide. If you're considering moving to Thailand after loss, after divorce, after major life upheaval, understand this. Moving won't solve the problems you're running from. It will just relocate them. And if you're not careful, if you're not honest with yourself about your vulnerabilities, you'll end up like Clyde, alone, broke, and teaching English for survival money with no path forward and no path back. Learn from his mistakes. Protect yourself. Be careful who you trust. And remember that needing to be needed isn't the same as being loved. Thanks for watching. If you found value in this story, please subscribe to This is Thailand for more real stories from expats living in the land of smiles. This is Thailand. Be careful out there.